pedagog, student të shkollës Magjistraturës, profesues të medias, i nderuar zoti Qashku, që në fakt mundësove në sajt kësaj nisme shumë të rëndësishme që për vite me radhë tashmë shkryuar një traditë shumë e mirë e diskutimit të drejtave të njeriut në kontekstin e sjelljes së shumë filmave që përcjellin mesazhe të kontekstualizuara edhe në sajt të situatës që lidhet dhe me vendin tonë, ndjes. Duke qenë se Ambasadori do duhet largohet, dhe duke qenë se ne pam një film shumë interesant për fakt, i cili ka të bëjë me zbatimin e parimit universal, të jurisdiksionit universal, do doja që fillimisht t'ja kaloja fjalën për të na dhënë disa nga përshtypjet e tij. Prezenca e OSBE-s ka dhënë një kontribut shumë të rëndësishëm në vendin tonë në kuadër të reformimit të sistemit të drejtësisë, por gjithashtu edhe me projekte të cilat synojnë rritjen e eficiencës së sistemit gjyqësor në vend, luftën kundër krimit ekonomik, financiar, por edhe të krimit mjedisor. Dhe mesazhet që u përcollën në këtë film besoj që janë shumë të rëndësishme edhe për kontekstin shqiptar, për sfidat e Shqipërisë në drejtim të pandushkueshmërisë, e cila këto 30 vjet përbën një sfidë të vazhdueshme për institucionet shqiptare dhe në mënyrë veçantë për institucionet e sistemit të drejtësisë, por njëkohësisht ne kemi gjithashtu krimet që janë kryer edhe gjatë regjimit totalitar, të cilat referuar edhe shumë instrumentave apo mekanizmave që janë ngritur nga Kombet e Bashkuara, evidentohet me shqetësim fakti i pandushkueshmërisë edhe të këtyre krimeve. Fjala për ju, zoti Ambasador. Faleminderit.
Thank you very much. Grazie. I'm wondering whether we need the micro actually, because this is a sort of family reunion. We are in 4 rows, so maybe you can hear me without micro.
Maybe for television they are registered.
For the television, so it's carrying. Okay, thank you. To start, I would like to say thank you to you, Director, for your invitation, of course, but even more than for your invitation, for the excellent initiative of holding even this year the edition is the 16th edition of the Human Rights Film Festival here in Albania.
Dinës nevojë për kthimi apo? Okay. Është okay. It's okay for the translation, or would like me to translate? The audience is okay.
I think that the Albanian Film Academy was one of the very first places I visited after I took office here in Tirana. Remember, I came to see you, it was even before Christmas, it was December. And mine was not a sort of innocent, of a naive visit. It's not only related to my passion for culture, although I'm not that educated and that an expert in culture, but still I've got this fatal attraction from culture. But because I truly believe that you represent, you offer Albanian civil society and to those who are lucky enough like me to live in your country, an extraordinary vehicle to convey a number of messages precisely through art and namely through cinema. And I would like to thank also the director of the School of Magistrates for his time. I know that your time is extremely precious. And the fact that you've been spending the last 1.5 hours together with all us during a working day testifies to your personal belief, even beyond your professional belief, in the cause of justice and of human rights. And of course, I would like to thank also my dear neighbor, Director for the Albania Helsinki Committee, for your commendable work on a daily basis. This was a very important movie, even more than a movie. It reminded me of a number of things. You might not be aware of the fact that when I entered the Foreign Ministry of Italy, one of my first assignments was to be the youngest member of the Italian delegation to the UN conference that brought to the Statute of Rome on the International Criminal Court. So I've seen my former Secretary General in one of these pictures, and I might have been behind these important guys as a note-taker and as an observer to the drafting committee to the then Conference of the United Nations on the adoption of the Rome Statute. And I can clearly remember many segments of that negotiation, how things went in the backstage, and how I was positively impressed by the role that civil society played in those negotiations. I'm administratively too young to remember all the international negotiations around the topic of universal jurisdiction and human rights, but I'm not sure that we had other precedents where civil society was so deeply involved from the very beginning of this tremendous diplomatic effort. That made the negotiation even more interesting, certainly more useful, and in some respects even more challenging, because the subject that was discussed in this movie, the subject of universal jurisdiction, is a very sensitive one. It's a very politically sensitive one, and it's not only a legal subject. I think that we should bow in front of all the pain that humanity continues to go through when you think of the breach, not of simple rights, if I can trivially say so, but of fundamental human rights. And where shall we put the benchmark? Where is the threshold? What is the meaning of universal human rights? There is also this tendency here and there to have a sort of regionalization of human rights. What is a breach of human rights in some parts of the world is not necessarily a breach of the same right in other parts of the world, allegedly for cultural reasons. This is like when I address especially younger people on gender-related rights, and I'm always asking myself, why are we doing that? Why do we need to explain to people that human rights are equal for each and every human being? Actually, it goes well beyond international conventions. It goes well beyond international covenants. It has to do with dignity, with the very essence of every human being. This being said, I'm extremely happy that we had a number of wise women and men who managed to enshrine into legal text, into legal provisions, to translate into laws, international laws, a number of human rights. And I'm delighted to acknowledge that the international penal justice is progressively taking shape. It didn't exist a long time ago. It does not exist in a number of fora, but it is taking shape through the efforts of the international lawyers, through the efforts of the international courts, through the effort of activists, NGOs, foundations, your foundation, and here it comes to the role of the OSCE and the participating states, starting from Albania. There is a role that needs to be played also at national level in each and every participating states, the member states, we call them in the OSCE jargon, the participating states of the organization I'm honored to serve here in Albania, and actually it is an arrangement under the UN Charter. So there is this deep intellectual, political, legal consistency between the universal recognition of human rights and what we do on a daily basis. And justice starts at home. Justice doesn't start in the outer space. It starts at home, it starts in families, in school, and I think that, thank God, the source of crimes we've seen there have nothing to do with the current history of Albania. Albania is, in many respects, a paradise because human rights are recognized. You have a democratic constitution, you have laws. There are challenges, we all know the challenges, but what matters to me is that there is no denialism of the challenges, and I can testify for a very, very open, very swift cooperation between the OSCE, the presence here, and the Albanian institutions. And you know that together with your judges, with the School of Magistrates, with your courts, your prosecutors, we have a number of ongoing programs with measurable and meaningful results. And you know that the presence is also engaged deeply with your civil society. We work, for instance, on transitional justice, which was one of the subjects raised during in this movie. And we work also with your academic world, because I said before, legal literacy, the culture of rule of law, starts where the cradle of a mature civil society is, that is, schools and universities. I have many scenes, I'm a big sinner, but one of my main scenes is that when I have a micro, I tend not to leave it. But there is the tyranny of time. I'm wondering whether we could have a more in-depth debate on the topic of universal justice. I'm not really sure that falls within the mandate of the presence in Albania, but maybe on a personal basis I would be delighted to continue this conversation and maybe broadening the floor, having students together with us. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you again for your invitation. I'm terribly embarrassed because I do not like to pretend that I'm busy. It's something that makes me feel a little bit ridiculous, but actually it happens to be that I have something that I cannot skip in less than an hour, and I have to reach this other meeting. Thank you. Grazie.
Shumë faleminderit zoti ambasador për mesazhet tuaja edhe për faktin që u bë theksin tek bashkëpunimi midis shoqërisë civile, shkollës magjistraturës, organizatave të cilat punojnë në nivel ndërkombëtar, përfshi këtu edhe ambasadat e akredituara në vendin tonë, sepse ka shumë sfida të cilat të vetëm nuk i përballen dot. Ndërkohë që e mirë kuptojmë ngarkesën tuaj dhe besoj që edhe pjesëmarrësit në këtë aktivitet mirë kuptojnë këtë fakt dhe shpresojmë të kemi bashkëpunime të tjera në të ardhmen. Faleminderit.